I want to welcome you to the very first episode of In the World of Women, brought to you by yours truly, Jordan being Jordan. Can I just say thank you for being here because this podcast has been in my mind for, I would say, about 2 years. So I am so happy you're here because I am happy I'm here because this has been a long time coming. So let me tell you a bit about this podcast, In the World of Women. We will be discussing cultural narratives, trends, and truths that are affecting the lives of women globally around the world because we don't have a space where we're talking about that enough. And let me tell you, women are going through it every single day. I switch on my computer, I pick up my phone, and there is a woman somewhere going through it. So this is the podcast, In the World of Women, is where we're going to discuss all of these situations, scenarios, trends, truths. Everything is going to be discussed here. This is the podcast where I say what it is that you're thinking but not saying, because I know one thing women are good at is thinking and not saying anything. Well, this is the pod where we're going to be talking about all the things you're thinking and not saying because it's time that it was all said. So if that's for you, go ahead and subscribe, retweet, do all the things. Do all the things. Follow, message me, wherever you're listening to this, share. You guys know what to do. I know you lot listen to pods, you know what to do, because this is the space that we're going to create for women, a safe space for us to have conversations, for me to talk to you about what I think is going on, for us to have, you know, discussions. This is where this is going to happen. And I want it to be controversial. I'm never going to say controversial, but we need to talk about, there's things we need to talk about. So let's get into it. This week in the world of women, where do I even begin? And you know what? The thing is, I know where I have to begin. The fact that we have these Epstein files dominating every single news channel as they should. But I'm so sad that my first episode, where I'm coming to talk to women about women's issues and trends and truths and what's going on, is going to be dominated by the fact that there are powerful, rich men running around doing whatever they want to do to whomever they want to do it to and not being held to account. I'm sad that my first episode with you guys is going to be about this, but how could I not? When I was thinking about what today's episode was going to be about, I I tried to avoid the Epstein files. I tried, but how can I? How can I when this is such a significant, poignant, important story that has to be discussed. But the angle in which I'm going to discuss it is, why does no one care about women's suffering? Why does nobody care about women suffering? Because when I did my research and I was like, let me actually research what's going on behind these Epstein files and let me actually go to the history of these Epstein files. For me to find out, and I had to make notes. You guys, I had to make notes. For me to find out that the first victim came to tell authorities about her experiences in 2006. We are now in 2026. So you're telling me 20 years we've known that Epstein is a wrong, and Epstein and his little dusty friends, they are wronged and they're doing bad, bad things. We've known this for 20 years. And only now are the files being leaked or being released, whatever. 3.5 million pages documenting the nonsense that these rich men are doing 20 years on after the first victim came forward and explained what their perspective was, explained their narrative, explained their experience, what happened to them. And it's only now that we are all taking it seriously. Not we are all taking it seriously. Let me rephrase that, because the victims have been taking this seriously and there have been voices shouting and screaming about what needs to be happening, the experiences of these women, what's happening on these islands, who's there, and they have been silenced. They have been ridiculed, dismissed, and silenced, because when women raise their concerns about their experiences perpetrated by men, not all men, but always a man, it's not taken seriously. So that's why it comes back to my question. Why do women, why does society not care when women are suffering? And it's so, as a woman to woman, as we're thinking about this, like, it's so hard to accept and to understand that, because if people cared, if society cared about the suffering of these women, it wouldn't have taken 20 years from when the first victim came forward and shared her experiences for there now to be uproar, for there now to be uh investigate. Well, I don't even know if America's even doing investigations. We'll come to that later on. But for there now to be these discussions, for it now to be front page everywhere, for the Epstein files to be discussed on the news, for the Epstein files to be debated, for there to be attention given to the fact that there are hundreds of girls who are now women, hundreds of girls who have been assaulted, who have been uh, sexually assaulted, who have been raped, who have, all of these things have happened to them. It wouldn't have taken 20 years for this to be given the attention it should have been given from the very beginning if society cared. Why does society not care when women are suffering? So I've had to really think about it. One of the reasons why one of the reasons why I think society doesn't care when women are suffering is because society thinks that women deserve to suffer. I think that's rooted in religion. I think it's rooted in social expectations. I think it's rooted in gender norms and expectations. But that it's clear to me, very clear, just given what's going on with the Epstein files, is that there is a proportion of society or a narrative in society would suggest you can argue with me on this one. I know this might be a controversial point. I don't mind. Feel free to comment, DM, email me. We can talk about this. I sincerely and truly believe that people think that women should suffer. It's part of being a woman to suffer. So I was on Twitter. I will call it Twitter. I know, don't come for me. I know it's not Twitter anymore. I know it's not, but I will call it Twitter. I was on Twitter and there was a thread about medical misogyny. And I'm not going to bring a racial element into it just yet. Part that, we'll come to that later. But there was a few women in the thread who added their experiences of doctors refusing to give them pain relief. Now, I know this is a big deal, especially amongst African American, African Caribbean, Black British women. But these were always also white women who were explaining this. So I was like, okay, let me have a little read and understand what. There was a thread of medical practitioners, doctors. There was quite a few gynecologists who were saying, oh, you don't need pain relief. Like, it's, yes, you'll be in pain, but that's what women go through. Excuse me? So you are telling me you can ease my pain? Medical misogyny is actually the most terrifying thing, because when you're in a hospital setting, when your health is not doing what it should be doing, when you're feeling away, when you're having a baby, when you're having a procedure, whatever it is, you are particularly vulnerable. You are particularly vulnerable. Then to be told by the medical professional who has an authority in the space that you're in that it's okay that you're in pain, you can suffer a bit. Women suffer. I think that is absolutely pretty terrifying. There was one story of a woman who said that, uh, and no, actually, it wasn't even a woman. It was a partner. I think maybe your husband, who said that they only found out when they had their second child 10 years later that during their birth of their first child, the nurse only gave his wife half of an epidural, which caused a lot of issues in the first first labor, and which had caused them to delay having a second child because they were so traumatized by that experience that the nurse only gave the wife half of an epidural. I didn't even know you could do this. Half of epidural. They were so traumatized. It took them 10 years to have another baby. And there was no medical reason why the wife could not have a full epidural. The decision was purely made by a nurse who just thought, well, it's okay, she can suffer. She doesn't need all this pain relief. She can suffer. What's going on? What's going on? And the only thing is that is rooted in is that society believes that women are supposed to and should suffer. That's all that's rooted in that. There's nothing else. You guys can argue with me in the comments, you can argue with me in my DM. I don't mind. But what a sad world we live in. I've also seen people, if bringing it back to the Epstein files, I've also seen people commenting and suggesting that the girls who have been taken to this island and the stories coming out, the experiences that are being shared, what you can read in these papers, in these 3.5 million pages of pure and utter nastiness, filth perpetrated by these rich and powerful men. There's also been a bit of a tone and a narrative I've seen in the media, and they've been hushed tones, hushed and quite quiet. But questioning the girls, like, oh, what are these girls? Why were these girls there? And who are the girls? And surely they could have come forward before, and blaming these girls when we know about the power and control that these grown, powerful, authoritarian men possess. Honestly, how could I'm so annoyed that this is my first episode. I have to talk about this, but I have to because it is absolutely awful. So now we have all these files being released, being leaked, released, whatever. And we're not seeing the accountability. Why are we not seeing the accountability? So you are telling me that we know who these men are who have abused these girls, abused and more, because there's even pages that suggest that girls have been killed, murder. Yeah, you're telling me that we have the names, we know where these people are, um, we know what they look like, we have access to them. One of them's even sitting in the White House, talking every day. You're telling me we know where these people are, and there's no consequences. What does this really mean for society, and what does this really mean for women? Because if there are no consequences when we have black and white evidence, what does this mean for women? Who, how, what, when, where, how, why? What do women do with this? Because what you're saying is that women, if you're rich and if you're powerful enough, you can do whatever you want to a woman, to a girl, and there will be no consequences for you. And yet, on the other hand, you want women to continue to function and work and live in this society that is showing us that we are unsafe, and actually there's no consequence for when people make us unsafe. It's wild. I posted a little while ago on my page about a apartment block that is being, oh yeah, if you guys are not following me, follow me. At Jorden being Jorden on Twitter, on Twitter actually, and on TikTok. But anyway, we'll come back to that. But I posted on my page a story about an apartment block in London, which is being built, or people are there's a waiting list for this block because it's women only. So only women can live in this block. And obviously, it went a little bit viral. A lot of women were like, sign me up, because I want to live there. But then there were men and some women also in the comments saying, well, that's not fair. Why are they living separately? You're segregating yourself. You're isolating yourself. You can't, why would women want to do that? This will never catch on. This is a silly idea. I want all of those people who raised a concern or criticism of that women only block to come and talk to me now after having read the absolute filth and disgusting behavior towards these girls in these Epstein files, and tell me why women shouldn't have an option to live alone. Live alone, live separately to men. Come and talk to me about that, because I think this Epstein files is really going to open up some conversations need to be had. Some conversations need to be had about the fact that women are so unsafe and there are no consequences. We already know that there's a rise of violence against women and girls. We already know that. We already know how hard it is to get a conviction for rape when a woman makes an allegation or a report of rape, how hard it is for there to be a conviction. We already know that. This Epstein files, these Epstein files, sorry, just seem to provide more evidence for the fact that women are unsafe. And no one seems to care about women suffering. That's all that I see when I read these files. That's it. Even to the point, and I had to make a note of this, that yes, we know about Virginia Giuffre, we know about her. She was obviously incredibly brave to come forward, and sadly, she is no more. But also, I found out about this other girl, this Gabriela Rico Jimenez. I know that I've ruined her name. I know that I've butchered her name. I'm sorry. Correct me in the comments. She came forward, and she's a model. She's a model, gorgeous girl at the beginning of her career, like hitting it, runway, doing all the things. She found she was on the island. She left the island and would not stop talking about how nasty and how bad people were on the island. She would not stop talking about the assaults. She would not stop talking about the cannibalism. Let me say that word again, the cannibalism, only for her to be institutionalized, put into a mental health facility, her career to be over. The way in which women are silenced is so violent. The way in which women are silenced when they speak up for themselves and when they share their experiences is so violent. I couldn't believe when I read her story, when I read Gabriella's story, I was like, no wonder some women choose to not say anything and just try to live their lives as best they can, because the risk to you when you open your mouth and you share your experiences, you have to question yourself and ask yourself, is it worth it? Is it worth risking my life to share my experiences? Because Gabriella, Virginia, we all know how that story went. And it's incredibly sad. We have to watch this space. The Epstein files are going to continue to come out, continue to be released. We're seeing some arrests happening in Europe, in other countries. We're not seeing anything going on in America. We're obviously having discussion. I don't even know, what do we call him now? Prince Andrew? I don't know. Andrew Mountbatten, whatever. The prince who the royal family were defending, but Harry and Meghan got kicked out. Okay, that's an episode. That's another episode. Oh, by the way, I am a team Harry and Meghan fan, so there'll be absolutely no slander of them in these comments. But Prince Andrew, who's not going by that anymore, Andrew Mountbatten, whatever, the disgraced prince, let's go with that, was outside doing this, and that with this girl, underage, allegedly. But the people that you have an issue with is Harry and Meghan, because she's mixed race. The royal family have a lot to answer for. The royal family have a lot to answer for. But again, that's another, maybe that's next week's episode. I don't know. I don't know. But let's see what happens. Let's hope there's some more arrests. Hope, let's hope there's some consequences for the behavior that we're seeing in these files, because there is nothing light about these files. These files are dark. These files are about male depraved behavior, and there needs to be consequences. There needs to be consequences because one, these people have committed crimes, and two, we need to see consequences in order for women to feel safe, living your life, walking around the streets, going to work, going home. You need to be able to feel safe. And how will women feel safe if all that we see is that there's a complete lack of consequence for these rich and powerful men? The next segment of this podcast is called Between Me and You. And this is where we just have a bit of a chat. It's going to be a bit lighter. It's not going to be like the last segment. This is going to be a bit lighter because Between Me and You is where we can really get into what's been going on, some of the trends, some of the stories. Let's really jump into that. So Between Me and You, we need to have a conversation about hobosexuals. Yes, I'll say it again. We need to have a conversation about hobosexuals because do you see the weather? Now, I'm based in London. I don't know where you're based, but let me tell you this. It has rained every single day this year. I'm filming this in mid-February. What is it, the 17th? This is probably going to come out a couple days. I can assure you it would have rained. It rained today, it will rain tomorrow, it will rain the day after. The weather is nasty. And there are some hobosexuals, not all men, but always a man, who need accommodation. They need somewhere to stay. They have no fixed abode and they are looking for women to live with. Only for me to find out. And the reason why I said we need to talk about this, the reason why I'm saying this is between me and you, is because I was on Twitter. Right, there's a pattern. I spend a lot of time there. Don't judge me. But I was on Twitter and Murray Banks. I don't know much about Murray Banks. I don't know who that is. But Murray Banks has released a guide, almost like a guide to hobosexuals to help to give them the steps they can take in order to move into a woman's house permanently. The streets are not safe. So on the one hand, we have the Epstein files and the islands and rich and powerful men doing that. And then we have the hobosexuals doing that. The streets are not safe. He's written a guide, like a checklist of the things you can do in order to move into a woman's house quietly, gradually, but to move in. I could not, it's the boldness for me. It's the boldness for me. Because what do you mean? You're even writing it down. There's even a manual about how to be a successful homosexual. I suppose, yeah, I guess so. Like, if you manage to find yourself permanent accommodation with a woman, you are a successful homosexual. So, you need to know what other people are doing. So, of course, I had a little read of the manual, of the checklist, if you like. And you guys can go and Google it. But the main points I want to talk about is where he says that in order to gradually move in or to be more accepted or, to get to a permanent living situation, you should buy her children, if she has children, snacks and juice so that the children get to like you. That one really stuck with me. The other point that was made is that you should just leave a few of your items, nothing big, nothing garish, nothing that's going to cause a problem, but leave a few of your items here and there, leave your boxes there, your toothbrush, just leave it there, maybe a couple t-shirts, a couple vests, little socks. Just leave a few things there. And if she doesn't raise an issue, leave it there. You're starting to kind of get your foot in the door, as they like to say. That stuck with me. And then the other one was to have a piece of mail, so have your mail sent to the house. And again, if she doesn't, complain or raise it as an issue, that's good. Let me tell you, this checklist is a manipulation 101. Murray Banks should call this checklist manipulation 101 because that's what it is. That's what it is. Get the kids on side. Start moving your things in quietly. Have your post sent there. The other point which comes in again very high. Be useful, be helpful around the house. If there's something that needs to be fixed, fix it. Wash the plates, take out the trash. So you guys know how to be helpful in this house. You know what you need to do in order to be useful. Which also makes me feel like when there are men who don't do these things, that's very much a choice. It all feels incredibly manipulative because it is incredibly manipulative. And the sad thing about it is that it's also his checklist is based upon in question, so women whose house it is, just not saying anything, like just letting it slide. And we've all been there. And we're talking between me and you, we've all been there where you see a little something, maybe something that he's done, maybe you've invited a guy around and he's done something or he's left something and you're like, oh, okay, that's a bit strange, but okay, not a problem, it's fine, it's not a big deal, it's not a big deal. Let me tell you, if there's one thing this Murray Banks hobosexual manipulation checklist will show you, let every single thing be a big deal. Let every single thing be a big deal. If you do not want this man to live with you, if his housing situation is a bit dubious, yeah, you make sure that when he leaves the house, he takes every item with him. Babe, hi, babe, before you go, you left your trainers here. Take your things. Oh, I even found your toothbrush upstairs. Wait there. Let me go and get your things. You make sure when he sends the mail to your house, you put return to sender. Send it back. Send it back to where it needs to go. If he's there, buy your kids snacks. I mean, the kids deserve some snacks. Why can't the kids have snacks? Give the kids some snacks. Why not? But keep your eye open and your ears open because they are now creating manuals on how to move into your house, the house that you worked hard for. And at no point is there a conversation. The list is going to say, have a conversation about whether or not, this is something that you both want. It's just manipulation tactics of how to move in without a conversation being had. Ladies, let everything be a big deal. Let everything be a big deal because they are banking on you not saying anything. And then at the end of the checklist, imagine he was just like, well done, you've made it. You're a successful homosexual. Woo! Like, let's celebrate. Girlies, the streets are not safe. The streets are not safe from the top all the way to the bottom. The streets are not safe. But anyway, on that note, next week I'm going to have another section where we talk about. In fact, no. Let me leave a little teaser. Let that be a little teaser. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode. Short, sharp, and sweet. They will all be fairly short, fairly sharp, fairly sweet. So follow me on TikTok, on Instagram at Jorden being Jorden. Also follow me on Twitter / at Jorden being Jorden. And guys, join the journey in the world of women. This podcast is for you. It's to talk about the narratives, the trends, the truths that are affecting women's lives all over the world. Come here. This is where we have this conversation. Listen to me, follow, share. If there's anyone who you think would really benefit from hearing, just having this chat with me, do that. Tell everybody about it. This is going to be a great journey. I'm so excited, and thank you so much for tuning in. I guess that's it this week for In the World of Women. But until next time.